Denise Gwen, reading aloud for you from my novel, His Christmas Eve Proposal, Book 3 in the Medicine Women of Alaska, Chapter 16. She cut her musings short as she noticed Drew. He continued to stand outside his office and fumbled with his keys. Sudden inspiration overtook her, and her feet moved of their own accord as they marched across the street and stood on the doorstep of Drew's medical practice as he thrust the key into the lock and opened the door. "Dr. Schuster," he said stiffly. "Good morning, Dr. Rutherford," she said icily. He gazed at her a moment longer, then closed the door and slumped against it. "Is there something I can help you with?" he asked, his voice cold. Her blood boiled. She wanted to yell at him. She wanted to demand to know why he was being so unpleasant and so off-putting. Instead, she forced herself to keep it neutral and polite. "How are the surveyors doing? The man at the lumber mill with the broken leg? And our own patient with the appendectomy, how's he doing?" Then, adding in an accusing tone of voice, as if she were punishing him, which she supposed she was, she added, "You never did tell me how he fared. And then you can tell me why you're being such a jerk." Mr. Wilbur, the man who suffered a broken leg, is fine and hobbling around on a pair of crutches. He's in great spirits. And our appendectomy patient, Mr. Hofstetter, spent a week at Juneau Memorial, and he's out now and doing great. He's still at home on bed rest, but he should be back to work soon. "Well, isn't that fine to hear?" she said with anger as tears filled her throat. "Because the way you've been avoiding me, it made me wonder if perhaps something terrible happened." "Oh me, oh my, I'm being so childish." She looked away to avoid gazing into his deep brown eyes. "I've been very busy, Naomi." "Oh, so you've been busy," she said with sarcasm, wincing inwardly at herself, but he wisely did not bite. "Yes," he said evenly, "I have." "Well, isn't that good to know?" A tense silence filled the space between them. He stood on the front stoop of his medical practice, and she stood below it, looking up at him. Even though they were that close, it felt as if miles kept them apart. "Just walk away, Naomi. Obviously, you two are not meant to be, so just walk away." The way he avoided gazing into her eyes reminded her so much of how the other surgeons avoided eye contact with her after her botched surgery. And it was the same look in her father's eyes when he chastised her after she jilted Ricardo at the altar. Everyone who'd ever mattered to her in the world, other surgeons, her father, had all lost their faith in her, and it stung. "You want to know something, mister? I don't need your attitude. I don't need your coldness. I can do just fine without you." "Well, thanks for the update." She turned on her heel, ready to storm back across the street to her clinic. "Naomi, stop!" Her heart quickened at the sound of his voice. Oh, he did care, only one part of her wanted to completely ignore him and keep on walking, while another part of her wanted to throw herself into his arms. She'd been so darned lonely ever since their night together in the surgery. Her heart broke a little as she turned back around to face him. She pretended anger, but her heart gladdened as he drew near. Naomi, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just so very confused about everything, and I'm sorry about not telling you about Mr. Hofstetter. She remained silent. I should have told you about his recovery, but I just didn't. I may be considered by you and others of your ilk as being a cold-blooded surgeon, she said, attempting to sound tough, but with tears brimming behind her eyelids. But I really do have a heart in this chest of mine, and I really do care about my patients, especially when they're undergoing major surgery in a less than perfect surgical setting. Mr. Hofstetter's doing just fine, Drew said, his brown eyes warming as he gazed at her. And I'm eternally grateful for you and for your tremendous skill. Oh, she said, abashed. Anybody could have performed that surgery. I couldn't have. I'm so glad you were there. Oh, come on, you're a trained surgeon. I served for a few months on a surgical internship because my dad thought it would be a good thing for me to be a surgeon, but I never cared for it. And I only did an appendectomy as a second doctor. You've never performed an appendectomy on your own? Nope, never. Well, okay then, she said and blinked back her tears. She was starting to feel better. At least she and Drew were talking. So, he said, shifting from one foot to the other, I'll be seeing you around? Sure, she said and turned to go again, this time feeling oh so much better. Wait, Naomi. Relieved, she whirled back around and faced him. Look, he said. I don't have any patients scheduled today, and I've got this script to email to a patient, but after that, would you like to go on a hike with me? He smiled sweetly. You enjoyed the view so much from my back porch. I thought you might like to see it up close. She wanted to say no. She prepared to say no. She opened her mouth and said, "Oh, that would be great." You need to go back home and get dressed warmly. Boots, a parka, that kind of thing. Gloves? Yeah, he said. Gloves are a good idea. She was smiling as she whirled back around and hurried to get changed.